It's an intro to balancing chemical equations, bite-sized for physical science. After this video, you should be able to identify coefficients and subscripts in a chemical equation and satisfy the law of conservation of mass by balancing chemical equations. Now, you should already know what the law of conservation of mass is and what chemical formulas mean. It's me, Moser. Let's go. Okay, let's do a quick review. You might remember from formula writing, this represents the formula for carbon dioxide. So that little number behind the oxygen, that 2, is a subscript. Sub means below, and this kind of rides below the text, kind of like the opposite of an exponent. The subscript tells you how many atoms of each element are bound together. So we've got 2 oxygen atoms and 1 carbon atom. Now, in molecular compounds, this is an exact count. Did you notice that carbon didn't get a subscript? Well, no subscript means that there's 1 atom present, because we wouldn't write carbon if there wasn't at least 1 atom, right? Okay, so here we have 1 carbon atom, 2 oxygen atoms. Great. Here's the formula for magnesium chloride, and again, we find a subscript of 2, this time behind the chloride. The way that we use subscripts is slightly different for ionic compounds. It tells you the ratio of ions that are present in the ionic compound. It's not an exact count. So here, what we're saying is that for every 1 magnesium 2 plus ion, there are 2 chloride 1 minus ions. Again, no subscript means 1 atom, or in this case, 1 ion. Let's do some quick practice counting atoms and ions. So here we have the formula for dicarbon hexahydride. So we see a subscript of 2 and a subscript of 6. What does that tell us? Well, that there are 2 carbon atoms bound up to 6 hydrogen atoms. Did you get it right? Good. So here is phosphorus pentachloride. Well, we've got 1 phosphorus atom. Again, there is no subscript, but we wouldn't write the phosphorus atom unless we had one. The 5 behind the chlorine means that there are 5 chlorine atoms here. Okay, so here's an ionic compound, aluminum oxide. What do those subscripts mean? Well, it means that there are 2 aluminum ions for every 3 oxide ions. Great. 1 more, and then we'll move on. So I've got calcium bromide. No subscript on the calcium. That means there's 1 calcium ion for every 2 bromide ions. Excellent. Do you remember the law of conservation of mass? It says that matter cannot be created or destroyed in an ordinary chemical reaction. And what it means in the context of chemical equations is that we have to have the same number of atoms or ions of each element on the reactant side of a chemical equation as we do on the product side. Basically, you got to end with the same number you started with. All right, I've got the reaction of lithium sulfide plus magnesium chloride, which yields lithium chloride and magnesium sulfide. Well, fantastic. But right off, I can see that I have different numbers of lithium and chloride ions on the reactant and product side of the equation. So to fix that, I'm going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to start by recopying the equation with a little space in front of each reactant and each product. And then I'm going to tally up how many atoms or ions I have of each element on each side of the equation. So I typically draw a line down from that yields arrow, and I list all of the elements or ions that are in the equation. Notice that I listed them in the same order on each side, even though they don't appear that way. It's easier for me anyway to not mix things up if I just keep the order the same. So now I want to tally up how many atoms or ions I have of each element. This is where that counting comes in. So on the reactant side, I have 2 lithium, 1 sulfide, 1 magnesium, and 2 chlorine, or 2 chloride ions. And on the product side, I've got 1 of everything. How will I fix this? Well, it seems fairly easy. If I multiplied the lithium chloride on the product side by 2, then I would change the tally numbers that I have for lithium and chlorine. Everything would be balanced. 2 lithium on each side, 1 sulfur and magnesium on each side, and 2 chlorine on each side. Yay! What is this magical 2? That's a coefficient, and that's what we're going to talk about next. The coefficient is the number in front of a chemical formula in an equation that gives the ratio of one compound to another, compound X to compound Y. So what this 2 is telling us is that for every unit, we don't have to talk about what the units are yet, for every 1 unit of lithium sulfide on the reactant side, we have 1 unit of magnesium chloride on the reactant side, and that will produce 2 units of lithium chloride on the product side and 1 unit of magnesium sulfide on the product side. Again, if there's no number in front of the compound, we assume that to be a 1 because we wouldn't write the formula if there wasn't at least 1 unit of it there. Yeehaw, it's thermite. Aluminum oxide, powdered, plus powdered iron. Whoops. That's better. I had my reaction backwards. How embarrassing. So we have iron oxide, better known as rust, and powdered aluminum. And if we light it off with sufficient heat, we will get out of that aluminum oxide and pure molten iron. That's what the picture is below. This is actually how they welded the rails on the Transcontinental Railroad. Really cool stuff. More about that later. So we've got iron oxide plus aluminum yields aluminum oxide plus iron. What do we need to do first? Rewrite it. So we've rewritten it. Now we want to tally up all of the atoms or ions that are participating on each side of this reaction. So on the reactant side, I've got aluminum, oxygen, and iron. On the product side, I have aluminum, oxygen, and iron. Notice that I have the same things on both sides, and since I had to fix this, the order's a little bit funky on the front side. That's okay. So what do I do first? Well, it looks like I could balance my oxygen by putting a coefficient of 3, in front of that iron oxide in the reactant side. So then I would have to change my tally. I would now have 3 oxygen, 3 iron, and 1 aluminum on the reactant side, 2 aluminum, 3 oxygen, and 1 iron on the product side. I'm going to hold off on balancing that iron until very last because it's all by itself. What can I do for the aluminum? Well, that looks like an easy fix. If I put a coefficient of 2 in front of aluminum, now my aluminum has 2 aluminums on the reactant side and 2 on the product side. The only thing left to do is to balance that iron, and that's going to be easy. A coefficient of 3 fixes everything, and now I've got 2 aluminum, 3 oxygen, and 3 iron on both the reactant and the product side. And if I actually did this, I'd also have a puddle of molten iron. That would be so cool. Here's another reaction, and this is one that you should be familiar with. If you've ever cooked on a natural gas stove or been in a house that was heated with natural gas is methane, CH4, and when we burn it, we add oxygen, what we produce is CO2 and H2O. Yeah, carbon dioxide and water. Pretty simple. So we want to balance this equation. We're going to start, of course, by rewriting it with a space in front of each reactant and each product, and now we want to do our tally. So I am seeing 1 carbon on each side, reactant and product, 4 hydrogens on the reactant side, and 2 on the product side, 2 oxygens on the reactant side, and 3 oxygens on the product side. Now, be careful with that oxygen. Did you notice that it appears in 2 different compounds on the product side? That can be tricky, so let's just walk carefully here. I'm going to leave the oxygen on the reactant side to balance last because it's all by itself, and that means it'll be pretty easy to do. Right off the bat, I can see that I'm going to have to double the amount of hydrogen on the product side, so I'm going to stick a coefficient 2 in front of the water. The other thing that does for us is it gives us an even number of oxygens, and since the O2 on the reactant side is O2, it's going to have to be an even number. So 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, the only thing left is the oxygen. Coefficient of 2 fixes everything, and now we've got a balanced chemical reaction for, this is actually the combustion of methane. Cool. Okay, just a couple of pro tips before I cut you loose to go do your practice. Number 1, save anything that isn't in a compound for last. So things like the iron or the oxygen and the 2 reactions that we just saw are on their own, so they're really easy to throw a coefficient in front of and balance, much easier than a compound where the coefficient's going to change more than one thing. Pro tip number 2, watch out for elements that show up in more than one compound, like the oxygen on the product side in the combustion of methane. It's really easy to miscount or forget to change the number of atoms or ions that you're looking at when that element appears in more than one compound. The last pro tip, I don't think you'd ever do this. I think you already know better, but never change subscripts. That would change chemical formulas. Balancing can only be done by changing coefficients. Somebody could look at this and say, oh, that's easy. If I just make it Li2Cl2, it's all done. Yeah, but then your formula is wrong and nothing good comes of that. The only way to balance the chemical equation is by changing the coefficients. Okay, you got it? Can you identify coefficients and subscripts in a chemical equation? Can you satisfy the law of conservation of mass by balancing chemical equations? Excellent. Now go do some practice and reinforce your skills.